Hello everyone, I'm Guilherme Lopes. I'm here with Alisson Pickens from Gainsight. We are very glad that you are here. Thank you.
So great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So this is the second year we have a customer success track here in RD Summit, and Alisson will talk about how companies could grow, look at the growth machine not as a funnel, not as a hourglass, but as a helix. Explain a bit more about that concept.
Absolutely. Historically, when people thought about how to grow their companies, they usually referred to the funnel model, as you mentioned. So this is all about taking some cold leads, warming them up, nurturing them over time, passing them off to sales, and sales close some percentage of them. So you end up with a funnel. As companies moved to the recurring revenue model, they realized actually there's so much revenue that can come from your existing customers. So if we renew our customers well, if we expand them through upsell or cross-sell, we end up making a lot more money. And so people realized the funnel was no longer sufficient to talk about how to grow revenue. So we now talk about the hourglass, which means that after you close those customers, you can expand the size of your relationship over time. Now, in the past year especially, people have realized actually that's not enough. Really, there's a third source of revenue that we have, which is if we can generate success for our customers, help them see a return on investment on their purchase and create a great client experience, our customers will go advocate for us to prospective customers. And basically, through that process of advocacy, we can close the loop on customer acquisition, which means that we can expand the size of our company upward as successful customers propel new business. And that's why we say the third revenue model, the third model for revenue growth is the helix. It's an upward spiral.
So great. So the first step, the first thing we hear about customer success is that you cannot build a growth machine with a leaky bucket. Then you have expansion, which is the concept of the hourglass. And now the helix means that customer success also helps you to close more deals, to generate deals, and to grow your company faster and faster.
Absolutely, you got it.
Great. And well, this is primarily a marketing and sales event, but of course we have customer success because it's part, if not the core, of a growth machine. And there is one concept that there's a lot of interaction with marketing, which is customer marketing.
Yes.
And sometimes people ask me if it should sit in customer success or marketing and how both should work together. And I know that you guys at Gainsight have a lot of experience with that. What can you tell us about what you've learned so far and what are the best practices for customer marketing?
Absolutely. Well, I think first thing is we need to define what we mean when we say customer marketing, because I think actually every company has a different definition of what customer marketing is. It can include adoption marketing, so sending best practices to your customers. It can include setting up events for your customers, and it can also include generating advocacy among your existing customers. Sometimes when folks have a customer marketing function, they might overlook one of those areas. I think it's important to have both. Now, as for the question for where that should sit, I actually don't think it matters too much. I think the most important thing is that you have passionate people who are very focused on executing in each of these areas. Now, I think the most overlooked part of customer marketing is this advocacy generation piece. So many salespeople would love to be able to introduce a happy customer to every new prospect, but the reality is they don't have information on which customers are happy, which are the customers that are most similar to prospective customers, and which are the customers that are gonna promote us most actively. So we need to be able to provide that sort of infrastructure for our sales team. And I actually think the harsh reality is that a lot of marketing teams are letting their salespeople down because they don't provide this. So the more that we can, improve our focus on customer advocacy, the better the experience that sales folks will have in closing deals, and the better the experience for the buyer in the sales cycle, because they're able not just to hear hypothetically about the value that the product or service can provide, but they're actually able to hear from a real customer authentically about the value that they've experienced.
So great. So customer marketing helps your prospect, your leads and deals to see, to foresee and realize what they can get looking at the success stories of your current customers. But of course, you can't try to sell to every customer with a success story of a retail companies for someone that is selling softwares or in industry. And that's when segment comes into place and is so important. So, and that made the work so much more complex. How do you deal with that, and how does Gainsight help companies deal with that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And actually, I think the number one objection that salespeople have in terms of customer marketing is that they're worried they're going to put one customer on the phone with a prospect and they're not going to be similar at all. And the prospect is going to say, this solution's not meant for me, so I'm not going to go with it. So Gainsight provides basically a matching system so that an account executive can easily request a reference from a similar customer on all sorts of attributes. Some of them are pretty intuitive: size of company, the industry, but also if you're starting to track use cases for your product or service, which our product can help you do, then you can easily match the desired use case of the prospect with the use case that the customer is achieving.
That's great. And Alisson, this is the first time you're here in Brazil, but I know you've done a lot of meetings already. What have you seen so far in terms of how companies are looking at customer success, what they've been building and doing about customer success, and what would be your advices based on what you've seen?
First of all, it's so awesome to be in Brazil for the first time. I don't want to leave. I hope Gainsight can let me stay another week. I love it here in Florianopolis. So, I've had a great time. I've met with a lot of entrepreneurs, founders, CEOs of SaaS companies, and customer success leaders. And the first thing I've noticed is the SaaS market is taking off. There are a lot of companies that are building interesting products ranging from sales automation to accounting, management, and everything in between. And often they're using channel partners to grow their business and also to provide customer success. And I thought that was very interesting insight that the channel is really important here, especially for reaching small businesses. I think the customer success world, the market is starting to grow as well. There are now people with the title Customer Success Manager. It's a little easier to recruit people with the CSM title than it was before. I think some folks have concerns it's a little expensive to recruit strong customer success managers, but I think as folks realize how important this function is, more people will be going into that function. We're seeing some folks have VPs of customer success or directors of customer success, specializing out that function from the account management role and from support and services, which all should do different things but work together coherently to create a great client experience. And to be honest, I think the subjects that we're talking about here are not so different from the subjects that we talk about in the US. I think customer success for everybody in the world is a new function, and there's just this educational process that needs to happen everywhere.
That's great. Good to know that companies are following the behind the tail, the path you've creating and helping to design the path of customer success in the US. And of course, education plays an important role in all of that. And events like this one, like our D Summit, or like Pulse, which by the way is a very good event Gainsight holds every year. When it happens this
Pulse will
year?
be in the San Francisco Bay Area in May of 2018.
May.
So I hope folks can make
Stay
it.
tuned. And you also do a lot of inbound marketing, education events as well. How does all that education helps to create the market and to make better customers as well?
Absolutely. The reality is, software is often a tool to execute a strategy. And software by itself can't actually fix your business. I mean, I'm in the software industries. I very much believe in software, but I think it's so critical to have the right strategy when you're using the software. It doesn't mean you have to spend years designing your strategy before you buy software. Actually, software can help you think through your strategy and implement it. But I do think it's really critical that, when you're creating a new category of software, you educate the market. And so that's why actually at Gainsight we invest so much in thought leadership. We've written a book called Customer Success. We've got a blog. We've got a podcast. And we try to make it very authentic. We're pretty honest about the struggles that we have internally on our customer success team within Gainsight. We're not perfect, even though we aspire to be every day. And we've learned a lot from working with folks in our community about what they experience.
Awesome, and that's great because one thing cannot work without the other. So companies do need to do inbound marketing, education, customer success, sales, and everything should be well aligned so a company can grow much faster than probably she would grow with a broken piece. So, Alisson, thank you again so much for being here. It's a pleasure.
Guilherme, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to come back here next year. I hope you'll have me. I actually think it's awesome to see a lot of folks from various countries here. There are people from the US, from Argentina, and you can see how this conference is just becoming a global phenomenon. So I'm thrilled to be a part of it.
Thank you.